I don't ever leave the kitchen while the canner is on the stove. Ever, never, never. I have a little bowl over here. I'm just not randomly pouring this on the table. And hopefully we hear more pops. I don't know how you pack a carrot. I don't think those are gonna fit. What we want to do next is straighten the camera so you're not crooked. I don't know how that works, but it does. I forgot to do that. Very important step. Normally I don't like to follow directions, but when it comes to canning, I do. I caught it. That's all that matters. It's better. I don't know why, but that's what it says, so that's what we do. In my head, I'm making sense. Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm gonna be canning today, but right now we're gonna do some coffee talk. Coffee talk about canning. I think we should do that. Let me set my coffee down and we'll get started. Yay! I'm a new canner, so I've been reading all the manuals, all the books, all the sites, everything I can get my hands on, I read. So today we're going to be doing carrots, and then I have just a little bit of beets from my garden. That's it. That's it on the beets, honestly. Somebody ate the rest of my beets. We're going to can these both in the same size jars, in the pint-sized jars. Everybody should have gotten a manual with their Presto canner or whatever kind of canner that you have. It's important that you read your manual. It's very important that you read your manual because you want to get this right, because food safety is very important. You don't want to get botulism. You don't want to get your family sick. So I looked up beets because I do want to do beets. The process time, it says 11 pounds for pints, 30 minutes. Quarts, 25 minutes. Well, we're doing pints, so that's 30 minutes for the beets. Now I want to do the carrots, so it says process at 11 pounds for 25 minutes for pints. I can do these together. I can only do these together because you want to take the higher time, the beets. It's okay if the carrots stay in there 5 minutes longer, that's fine, but the beets need that extra 5 minutes. So we could do it together, the beets and the carrots, but we're going to take the longer processing time to process these. So whatever you choose to do together, if it's the same pound pressure, take the higher processing time. And the other item that's in there, the other food that you're doing, it will be okay. Now, for my particular canner, I have a notebook even going because I just really want to get this right. For my particular canner, I have to fill the canner with water. You always fill the canner with water before you start canning. I have this big, tall, double stack canner here. For my particular canner, it takes 12 cups of water. So I already did that, poured 12 cups of water into my canner. Also in the canner, which I didn't do yet, to keep your jars clean and shiny, it's okay to add some vinegar into your canner. By doing that, you just keep your jars clean. We have well water here, not bad well water. I'm gonna add about that much, just a splash. It doesn't take much. So now we have the basic part of the canner ready to go. The water's in there and it's gonna be hot. We're gonna put hot water into hot jars and put them in a hot canner. Right now my jars are in the dishwasher. I've got it on rinse cycle. Vinegar is in there, and I also put vinegar in my, you know where you put your liquid stuff? Your rinse aid? Yeah. I always use vinegar in that too. That's all I ever use. I also have a pot of, right here, hot water boiling on the stove, so we could use that in the carrots. I hope I'm making sense, because in my head I'm making sense. My sea level is 892 feet above sea level. That's where I live. That's what that is, just in case anybody wondered. If you want to find that out, ask the Google. So I'm going to go get my hot jars and bring them over here in the hot water, and we're going to start filling these jars. I've got it all set up, and I'll put this in the dishwasher too, just to make sure this is hot and clean. I also put this in the dishwasher to make sure it's hot and clean also. Now I have in my pan, I have my lids. They're heating up. I have a hot pan of water here. I've got my vinegar, I've got my product, and I've got my jars. I'm going to do the beets first. I think we could probably just dump all those in there. It might not even fill the jar. That's okay. This is all the beets I got out of my garden this year. Isn't that sad? But that's alright. We're canning these. I'm not going to add any salt to the beets. You can if you want to. And if you do use salt, you want to use the non-iodized salt when you can. It's better. I don't know why, but that's what it says, so that's what we do. Normally, I don't like to follow directions, but when it comes to canning, I do. Now, we want a 1-inch headspace here, which that means normally the bottom ring, you want 1 inches from the top of water. So we're going to fill all of my beets with water, and I'm going to probably have floating beets. I do know that. But that's okay, because it is. I'm just happy I've gotten some beets. We did have a few more, but we did eat those. Probably another scoop of water. Yeah, there's beets in there. There is beets in there. See, now I'm getting close. When you start to get close, put your debubbler in there and just, you want to get the bubbles out. And I'm sure that I've got a lot of bubbles in here because I don't have many beets. You also can measure with this. There's a measuring tool on this. And this far one is the 1 inch. If you stick it in there, now see, I'm not touching yet, so we're going to add just a hair bit more water. Not much. And that should do it. Yep, that did it. So there's one jar of beets, but you know what? I'm going to be happy about that. We did get some more earlier in the year. We ate those. We got about that much in the middle of the year. So I've got my lid. We're going to put that on there just like so. Get your ring, and you don't want to put this tight. Just finger tight. And see, I didn't, you know, you can see my fingers are just, you just want to make sure the lid is just on there, basically, just to hold the lid down, because pressure is going to come out and it needs to release from in here. It's going to come out and then seal. I don't know how that works, but it does. Alright, I'm going to go put this in the canner. Now on to the carrots. I didn't cut these carrots. Maybe I should have. And I don't want to really put them in bigger jars because Rob is not a fan of carrots. I am. And you know what I found? The best way to cook carrots? Get a beef bouillon cube and put it in with your carrots, and it tastes just like it came from a roast. Half a teaspoon of salt is what I'm putting in here. I don't want a whole lot of salt. Half a teaspoon. Maybe I should do. Yeah, half a teaspoon. And then, here's the trick. I'm going to add just a little bit of water here, because that'll help dissolve it quicker. Now we're just going to pack the carrots in there. And hope they, oh look, they're laying nicely. I was afraid they weren't going to lay nicely in there. But they are. I don't know how you pack a carrot. I don't think those are going to fit. That's probably, maybe those can lay on their side. Now see? Oh, you know what I forgot to do with the beets? We need to get it back out because I forgot to wipe the rim with vinegar. We're going to get the beets back out and we're going to wipe the rim. I forgot to do that. Very important step. Water. We need to put water in here. I'm glad I remembered because that's coming right back out of there. See, I'm a new canner. And I bet you that even seasoned canners and rebel canners make mistakes too. I caught it. That's all that matters. I do have a bigger scoop I could probably use for this. Now you want to get your debubbling tool, debubbler, and try to get in there and get bubbles out. It's messing up my carrots is what it's doing there. There. Perfect. Now is when we vinegar. So I got my vinegar. I have a little bowl over here. I'm just not randomly pouring this on the table. Rob and I downsized. I used to have a really big kitchen before YouTube, but we downsized and now I work with the space I have. And it's just perfect for Rob and I. We don't need a lot of space. I'm also out of paper towels. So yeah. So I've got vinegar on this. Thank you, Burger King, for the napkin. Wipe the rim because as you see I touched inside there and my finger oils probably were left on there, so you want to be as clean as possible. There. Oopsies. Okay. That'll straighten up when we put the ring on it. Again, you don't want to do it tight. There. because you want the pressure to come out of the jar. Let me go get my beets. Got the beets. All right, I'm gonna get a new lid. I'm not gonna throw this lid away. I'm gonna put it back in the pan. All right, vinegar. Always wipe the room with vinegar. Now we're gonna we'll get the lid back out, put the lid back on. There we go. I was afraid when I first started canning, but I'm enjoying this a lot. All right, I'm gonna put it in the pot. All right, they're all in the canner. And if you notice, I have a towel down. You don't want to set the hot jars ever on your countertop. I just stepped on the dog's ball. That's my life. It's either step on the dog's toys or the dog. All right, now I have these in my canner. I have some empty jars in there also to fill the space. What we want to do next is straighten the camera so you're not crooked. I don't think you're crooked now. I have no idea. Got your canning lid. You want to check your gasket and make sure that's okay. Now, see this sticking up right here? You want to look through there, through the light, to make sure you can see through that. And if you can't see through that, you have a problem. You'll have to clean that out because you need that to be clear and free of any debris. And this, make sure this didn't loosen up for any reason. And your hole, and this thing pokes up. What we're going to do next is we're going to put this lid on this canner. The arrow matches to the arrow. So we're going to put it on there. Now, my canner's been sitting here on like number 3 heat, 2 heat, just warming up. Come on, Michelle, do better. I can't be the only one that has a problem with this, right? Turn it. There. I'm really close to the microwave here, if you see. Can you see how close I am? I'm close. Yeah. Now, the object of canning is heating this up slowly, pressurizing this pot slowly. You know how you let it sit to cool down and it depressurizes? Well, you want it to pressurize that much slower, or that slow. So I'm gonna bump the heat up just a little bit to 4. You don't crank it up to boil. You don't want to crank it up to boil. The reason being, you might not get a good seal. And I don't know the other reasons. You'd have to ask somebody else. I just know it needs to go slow, okay? So we're gonna let this go slow. And I'm going to drink a cup of coffee and watch this. I don't ever leave the kitchen while the canner is on the stove. Ever, never, never. When this starts to steam out of here, alright, I'll bring you back then because I'll show you the steam. And once that starts steaming out of there, you need to let it sit for 10 minutes. Now we have a steady stream of steam. I don't know if you could see it. I'm not going to put my hand over it, but it's there. I've set my timer for 10 minutes. Now we wait. When the 10 minutes is up, that's when we put the jiggler on. So we're going to wait these 10 minutes. Just let it sit here. Don't touch the temperature. Don't touch anything. Just let it sit here for 10 minutes. Alright. We'll be right back. The 10 minutes is up. This is popped up. And I still got the steam. I just stuck my hand in it. Now we put the little jiggler on. Come in from the side if you want. Don't go over top because and just set it on there. You just want it to sit on there nicely. Don't go over top your steam to put it on. You'll burn yourself. Go from the side and it's much easier. Now what we want 11 pounds of pressure on this. So now we're just going to wait. You don't start timing yet. You're going to wait till we get the 11 pounds of pressure. That's when we turn our timer on. So when I see 11 pounds pressure, I'm going to start my timer for 30 minutes. Because remember, I have beets and carrots in there, and the carrots were for 25 minutes and the beets were for 30. You want to go for the longer time. Whatever it is, go for the longer time. So when I see 11 pounds of pressure, I'm going to turn my timer on for 30 minutes. And then I'm going to keep it at 11 pounds of pressure. So if you have to adjust your stove, do what you need to do to keep it at 11 pounds of pressure. If it goes under 11 pounds of pressure, you have to bring it all back up and start the timer all over again. So don't ever let it go under the 11 pounds pressure. You don't want to have to start over again. And by starting over again, that just makes your whole day even longer. So watch. You want to watch your canner. Watch your canner. Don't leave the kitchen. Watch your canner. You can see now, we're building. We're building. And when it hits 11 pounds, that's when I'm going to turn my timer on for 30 minutes. When the 30 minutes are up, I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to turn my stove off. Turn the oven off. Turn the canner off. I'm going to turn it off. But I'm not going to move it because I have a glass top stove, as you see. I don't want to scratch it. So we're going to let it sit there and let it cool down. It might take a little longer to cool down, but that's okay. Everything in there will be okay. Look it, we're up to 5. We're getting there. So when the process is done, I'll come back and show you my jars. But remember, pressure has to get up to whatever poundage is in your manual, in your book. Then you turn your timer on. Well, the timer went off. Everything is done. The canner has sat here probably 45 minutes or so, and it cooled down. You can see the pressure's at 0. I can take this thing off safely now, and this button went back in. So we're going to remove this. There's no steam. We could crack the lid and leave it sit here for about 5 minutes cracked. And what that does is just releases, oh, I just heard a pop. Releases a little bit of steam if there's any extra in there, or it lets some of the heat out of the pan. So we'll let this sit here for about 5 minutes, and then we'll take the lid off and get the jars out, and hopefully we hear more pops. Alright, it's been sitting here probably more like 10 minutes. So we could take the lid off now, and you always want to take the lid off like away from you, but I have a problem here with my microwave. I can't do that. So we're going to take it off carefully and just kind of lift it up and pull it that way. But it's still steaming. Nothing broke. That's a good thing. Oh, did you hear that pop? Did you hear? Oh. They're popping. Make sure you hold your tool the right way. See how it's rounded at the bottom? That means it'll grasp around the jar. This is the handle end. I've seen people using them backwards. In fact, I started using them backwards once, and Rob's like, turning around. I'm like, oh, okay. So we're gonna lift this out carefully. Here's the beets. Remember, we didn't have a lot of beets, so I kind of knew it would look like that. But we'll take it over here and set it back here on this towel. Alright, let's get the carrots out. Ooh, careful. Ooh, those are pretty. Look how, the jar is square too. That's I believe that's one of Rob's mom's jars. She passed away, and I have some of her canning jars. It's a square one. There, you could sit there. This is the fun part, I think. Okay, take that over. Oops. Hit you on the canner. Careful, Michelle. Again, I keep hitting the tripod on the camera, and yeah, that's my ring light behind me. It's bright, I know. It's facing the wrong way, right? Sometimes. Alright, this is the last one. Look at that cute little square jar. That was probably Rob's mom's too. Okay, around, there we go. Alright, now if you noticed, I have empty jars in here full of water with no lids. See? That's just to take up space in my canner so the jars wouldn't bang around. But there you go. We canned carrots and we canned beets. Next we're going to do potatoes. I've already peeled potatoes, not in this video. Potatoes. soaking. I've been waiting for the canner to get done so I could put those in the canner. Alright, I will see you in my next video. Subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.